It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege of interviewing this podcast, the Golf Report Golf Podcast. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you doing, Brandon? Thank you for having me.
I'm doing good. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get started in doing a sports podcast on golf?
Yeah, so I've been playing golf for 17 years since I was 8, and I've been playing sports my whole life. And I've been a sports fan my whole life. Before I was playing golf, starting at age 8, I played, Little League baseball, basketball, and soccer, and then, I was in like fourth, fifth grade, then I started playing golf, just golf, and yeah, I got the idea to start my YouTube channel for watching, like your YouTube channel, Brandon, and then other podcasts that cover golf, college and amateur golf, like the Back of the Range with Ben Adelberg, Scrambling with Deland Auto. So yeah, just watching other YouTube channels and being a golfer myself for the past 17 years got me the idea to start, my YouTube channel and podcast.
What was that experience like for you being a golfer and getting that experience in golf?
Yeah, so yeah, I've been playing golf since, I was 8. I grew up in Phoenix, Arizona, and yeah, I've been playing. I played junior golf, I played high school golf, and I play, whenever I can now. And yeah, it's just fun playing golf, going out there playing. I grew up near a short 9-hole course, and I started playing when I was a junior, and then, I played in high school, and I play whenever I can when it's not winter. And yeah, I just love, playing golf.
How was that experience like for you getting into the podcast industry and coming up with a golf podcast?
So yeah, it was pretty easy for me starting, getting into golf. So yeah, I'm very familiar with all, the golfers, the players, and the tournaments. And, I wanted to start, doing, more of the amateur and college golf sites. I've seen, others do it, like the podcast that I mentioned. And also I have a passion for college golf and amateur golf because, I played at a college golf course here in Connecticut. And yeah, I just have a passion for, promoting, amateur college golf. And, I've had some lower level, professional golfers on there. So yeah, it was pretty easy for me considering that I'm a golfer and I'm pretty familiar with, the sport. So I think it was pretty seamless and easy for me to get in, starting a golf podcast.
How was that experience like first getting interviews on the college golf level and interviewing these college coaches?
Yeah, so basically I started my channel in August and I had the idea that if I wanted to see if some coaches would come on to do like a little preview of the upcoming college golf season because I started in August and the college golf season starts in September, and I was very excited for the upcoming season. So basically what I do to get, coaches interviews is I just go on the athletic website, reach out to, like sports information directors, communication directors, the people who, say you can do the interview or not, and then others within athletic medias. And then basically I just send out, an email about me, my history in golf and, some tournaments I've volunteered at, and also send out my resume. That's very important. I got the idea from, her name is Jensen Castle. She won the 2021 U.S. Women's uh, amateur, and she plays at Kentucky, and she has a podcast, Tee to Green. Well, she doesn't do it now, but she used to do it, and she told me the best thing that you should do is you should have a resume of, information about yourself, your background, references, and who you've interviewed. And so sending out the resume is very important. I just, created it overnight one night, and I send that every time I send out emails to coaches, sending out my resume. That's been very important in securing some of the interviews that I have because coaches are like, oh, hey, you've interviewed, this coach. Now I want to, and they can look at my list and they see like who I've interviewed. And yeah, and the fact that I've interviewed so many coaches now, over 40 or so makes, other coaches more inclined to come onto my podcast. So yeah, I just send out emails and attach my resume and send out interview questions. And then, you know, typically I don't get responses, but if I do, then I'll schedule a date and time with any coach who responds and wants to come on and do an interview. Then I'm gonna set up a Zoom interview.
How's that experience been like getting these interviews with these college golfers and learning about their program?
Yeah, it's been great to interview these coaches. It's been great to just hear their stories, hear a little bit about themselves, especially it was great. Like I just interviewed Heather Young, FAU. She played in the Solheim Cup, played on, the LPGA tour, went on the LPGA tour, and it's great to hear about, all that coaches have done, inside golf, outside of golf, and just generally, what they do for their school, outside of coaching. So it's great, promote coaches and all the things that they have done.
Who are some of the notable interviews that you've had on the Golf Report?
So I've had my favorite interview was ASU, Arizona State's head coach, Missy Farquet. She's someone who I've looked up to. I really just sent an email and I did not at all expect to have a response, but she not only responded to my email, but she came on and she gave me an hour of her time. So that was very impactful. And she has given me the best insight about, college golf and said some very insightful things that I haven't heard from any other college coaches. Some other notables are, Auburn's head coach, Melissa Llewellyn. Her player, Megan Schofield, just won the U.S. Women's Amateur and this past summer. So having her on was pretty cool. And yeah, just having I got to interview NXXT. It's a new startup women's golf tour. Their COO, that's going to come up soon. I got to interview her because they're a new startup tour. And then I've interviewed a few, professional players like Brianna Steger and Aswana Marta, Alexis, some Epson Tour players. So it's great, these lower level professional players, getting to interview them and, also some others, in college golf like Phoebe Brinker and Ann Chens. They play at Duke and some other players around here. Those were pretty cool interviews because like those two Duke players I've looked up to and watched them on the Golf Channel, throughout my life. But definitely having, Missy Farquet, the ASU women's head coach, getting to interview her for an hour was, really special to me because I've been an Arizona State fan my entire life and I grew up in Arizona.
What was that experience like getting to interview the Cal State's head women's golf coach?
Yeah, so it was great. So interviewing Coach Michelle Winkler, it was great to interview her because I live in Connecticut now, and she's from Connecticut. She's from East Granby, Connecticut, which is up by Hartford. It's basically, in between Hartford, Connecticut and Springfield, Massachusetts. So it's great to talk, with a fellow Connecticut golfer who's gone on to have success in the game. Coach Winkler was the second best, Connecticut women's junior golfer growing up here in the state. She had lots of success. She was runner-up in the Connecticut Junior Girls Championship, and then she went on to play at Xavier University in Ohio. And she's also held, various positions in golf, including being an assistant golf professional at the Stanwich Golf Club in Greenwich, Connecticut, which is, a private course and one of the top courses in Connecticut. So she's, a great player and she's had a lot of, experience in the game. And also it was just personally great to talk with her about her time, growing up in Connecticut. And now she's the head women's golf coach at Cal State Northridge. So we got to talk about, being the head coach at Cal State Northridge and then also, her time, growing up in Connecticut. So it was, very special to connect with someone who's a Connecticut golfer because, not many Connecticut golfers in her, circle is not very large. So getting to connect with someone, who's from my state, who's gone to have success was, very, very great and very personally, it meant a lot to me.
What was that experience like for you going to interview the coach at UAB and hearing about her experience of coming back to her alma mater to coach?
Yeah, so it was great. So Coach Jessie Lawley, she was my first interview. I literally just started sending out emails, didn't expect to hear any responses, and she was more than happy to get on an interview with me. She was my first interview, and yeah, you can just tell that, the passion that she has for golf, being a head coach, being a UAB Blazer, she started her coaching career at Lipscomb in Tennessee, and now she's back here at her alma mater, UAB. So we got to talk about her start in the game of golf, playing college golf at UAB, coaching at Lipscomb, and now going back to UAB. So it was great to hear about, what it means to her to go back to her alma mater. And we also got to talk about, outside of golf, we got to talk about, UAB winning at March Madness and other great things. So it was great. Coach Ollie's given me a reference, and she's always been very helpful, and it was great to interview her as my first interview on my channel.
What have been some of your favorite memories and moments covering college golf?
Yeah, so this past year I went to a few tournaments. I volunteered at the Ryan T. Lee Memorial College Tournament, which is a college tournament we have here in September in Connecticut. It's 17 Division I men's teams like around here in the East Coast, like Sacred Heart, Army, Villanova, Columbia, schools like that, Hofstra. So yeah, I went there for a day, and I filmed a short highlights video where you can see on my channel, and I also volunteered just doing scoring. And yeah, it was just great to, I'm passionate, and it's always fun to go out to a college tournament, and I got to film a short highlights video. And I know some of the people who run the tournament and things like that, so I have a good relationship with them. And then I also went to Sacred Heart's home tournament, which is a local school around me in Fairfield, Connecticut. They play at my home course here in Connecticut, and I got to see a player. Her name is Jillian Barron. She goes to Siena College in New York. I interviewed her, and I got to walk around and see her play 18 holes during the tournament at Sacred Heart. So that was great to, I got to interview a player, and then a few days later I got to see her play in a tournament at my home course. So that was great to see. And I also on Halloween, I went to Long Island University's tournament. So that was great to meet, Lily Bartell. Hopefully, maybe I'll interview her soon. No, she's no longer with Long Island, but it was great to just, connect with her and go to their home tournament. And it's just, meet her and talk to her because, she grew up in Arizona like me. She lives in South Carolina where, Hilton Head. She grew up there also where my grandmother, where my parents are going to live. And so it was great to connect with her. And also I went to wanted to go to Yale's home tournaments, both men and women's, but it got rained out. So for the Yale women's tournament, we were all waiting in the clubhouse to see if it was, the course was playable. So, it was raining, but I got to go there and, hand out my resumes and introduce myself to coaches and just, promote myself and my channel. So those were a few of my favorite memories covering college golf from this past year.
What was that experience like, getting to interview a golfer and then getting to see them compete on the golf course?
Oh yeah, that was great. It was great just to, chat with them because, Jillian, she's from Massachusetts. So, getting to interview another, New England golfer, was great. Because there's not many, New England golfers, we're very small and few. Because the golf season here is only so short because, we have winter for a few months every year. So it's great to, I interviewed her on Friday and then Monday. It was Tuesday, excuse me. And I got to see her go play at my tournament. So we talked about, my home course, what she expected from the tournament. It was just great, catch up with her, get to see her compete in a college event. And I think she shot like just over 80 or something around there. And, she said she didn't play well, but I thought she played really well, and she, definitely impressed me. And, it was just great to, I got to interview someone, then I got to see them play in a tournament, especially at my home course. So that was very cool. And I actually got to see her play twice, both at Sacred Heart and then a few weeks later on Halloween, I got to see her play at Long Island's tournament. So seeing her twice and getting to interview her, especially because she's one of the better players, and she started, things like Girls Independent Golf League Giggle. So she's, about promoting the game of golf just like I am. So yeah, especially to get to talk with her and then get to see her play twice in 2 tournaments.
What are some of the things that you've learned so far with doing your podcast and interviewing these college golf coaches and college golf athletes?
Yeah, what have I learned? I would say I learned a lot. Make sure you have a resume with your information. Like when I go to tournaments, if I want to film, so I bring my tripod, I bring a, wireless microphone if I want to, do any filming or things like that. I make sure I print out and send, bring my backpack and, have my resume there because, I've gone to tournaments and I've given my resume, like at Yale's tournament, I gave it to, Iowa's coach, and, I've given it to coaches like, Brian and other things like that. So I've learned that, making promoting yourself, having your resume on your hand is very important. And I've also learned that, it's that coaches are very approachable and that they always, want to, talk about themselves, and that they're always willing to give you their time. So yeah, just promoting yourselves and, going for it, just sending out emails and messages with your resume, because the worst thing that you can hear is no, or no response at all. So I think, yeah, just going for it and, just hearing great stories also has been great.
Who are some of the dream interviews that you would love to have?
So yeah, in golf, definitely Ann Walker. She's the, well, at least I consider her the top women's college golf coach. She's at Stanford, and it would not only be special for, just because she's a top golfer, but for me, because my stepfather, he 45 years ago, he's now 68, but he went to Stanford and he played water polo there for a year. So he's a Stanford Cardinal. He's an alumni. So getting to interview, Ann Walker, the Stanford head women's golf coach, I actually got an email response from her, and I did not expect that, but she didn't have any time available because it was right in the middle of their fall season. But maybe sometime I get to interview her or any of the, anyone related with Stanford, Tiffany Yaba or Brooke Riley, their assistant coach. That would mean a lot to me because Stanford, has had so much success. Unfortunately last year they didn't win, but they've won, numerous recently numerous national championships. They're one of the top teams. They're a team that I look up to. And my favorite golfer is Rose Zhang. She went to Stanford and she had abundant success. Tiger Woods went to Stanford, Tom Watson, Maverick McNeely. So, getting to interview, Ann Walker would mean a lot to me, or anyone at Stanford. Also, Nancy McDaniel, the Cal women's golf coach, she has been battling cancer for a second time. So they had, at Stanford's tournament, they had a fundraiser for Coach McDaniel, and getting to interview her or even her assistant coach would be, really a lot and mean a lot to me. So Coach McDaniel would also be another interview. Also, Laura Ionello at University of Arizona, U of A, would be a cool interview because I grew up in Arizona. I've now interviewed ASU's head coach, but interviewing U of A's head coach would be pretty cool. And then Kim Llewellyn, who was the head coach at Wake Forest, who they won the national championship last year. That would be a cool interview. And then for men's college coaches, Matt Thurmond, who is the ASU head coach, that would be pretty cool because, like I said, I'm an ASU fan my whole life. My stepsister went to Arizona State. So getting to interview their men's golf head coach would be pretty cool. Also, Andrew DiBattista, he's at North Carolina. I know you're from North Carolina, Brandon. He would be a pretty cool interview. They're one of the top teams, and also Conrad Ray, he's the Stanford head men's coach. He would also be a pretty cool interview.
Of course, what are some of your future plans for the golf report coming in the future?
Yeah, so this year, starting in April, I'm going to several tournaments, either volunteering or going as a spectator just to watch or, to promote my channel. So right now in, Northeast, we're in the winter, so we don't have anything much going until about April. But, starting in April, I'm going to go to, Rutgers tournament. That's in New Jersey. I'll go there and probably, hand out resumes and just go watch for fun. Then I go to South Carolina where my grandmother lives, and we go there for vacation. I'm going to go to the RBC Heritage, the PGA tournament. They have at Herbertown Golf Links in Hilton Head. I've been there the past 2 years, and I just go there for fun. I'll go for a third straight year. Then maybe I'll go to an AJGA tournament, AJGA All-Star. That's the American Junior Golf Association. It's for like the top junior golfers in the country. I'll maybe go there. They have a tournament in May, an All-Star. Then I might go to the LPGA Founders Cup tournament in New Jersey in beginning of May. I might or might not go, but then in mid-May, I'll be going to the Mizuho Americas Open LPGA tournament that they have at Liberty National. I'll be going there, and volunteering. Then also maybe in June, might go to the AJGA Ralph Lauren Polo tournament that they have in June. And I'll see with my schedule if I can go to that. But that's a pretty cool tournament that they have, match play. They have it at Bethpage Black, which is, hosted PGA Championship, US Open, major championships in golf. And that always has, it's an invitational, so they always have the top junior golfers in the tournament. So that's something that I'm interested in, learning more about and, getting to see, the junior players because, I haven't interviewed or I haven't, not very familiar with the junior players. I've gotten to see some of them at the LPGA tournament that I went to last year, but definitely getting to some junior tournaments is, good for me. And then I'm going to the US Senior Open, which is in Newport, Rhode Island, which is about 2 hours away from me. So I'll be going to that at the end of June and volunteering. Then they have an Epson Tour tournament, which is basically your minor league for, women's golf. That's the Epson Tour. That's what gets you onto the LPGA Tour. They have it at my home course, Great River Golf Club, in July here in Connecticut, the week after July 4th. So I'll definitely be going to that, maybe getting some interviews or just volunteering. And then I go to the Nordic Junior Championship, which I went to last year. It's just a big junior championship. Mostly we had some players, like even the women's champion was from China and all that, but mostly it's just, players from here in the Northeast, but you get some international players, and it's a well-run tournament. So I'll be going to that in August. Then I'm going to go to the U.S. Women's Mid Amateur in September in Boston. Um, I want to start interviewing some of the mid amateur players and getting into the amateur side because I think they have great stories, and just seeing them, the fact that they're still they're after college, and maybe they've given up on playing professionally, but just hearing their stories, some of those players. So I'm going to go to the U.S. Women's Mid Amateur in September in Boston. Then I'll add in some local college tournaments and Connecticut or New England tournaments when I can. But for now, I'm just attending tournaments as a fan and promoting my channel when I can, and maybe someday, hopefully, I can travel around to cover tournaments and do like pre or post round interviews with players, or just interviewing players in general at tournaments in person would be pretty cool. But for right now, I just go to tournaments as spectator or volunteer, and just try to promote myself whenever I can.
What would it be like to interview professional golfers and hearing their stories on how they got to where they are?
Yeah, so it'd be pretty cool. So I've had I don't know, maybe like 10 or 15 professional golfers from the Epson Tour, or WAPT Tour, which is like you think of like Epson Tour is like your AAA. If you think of baseball, like WAPT Tour is like your AA. So it's your second tier of minor league women's golf. But yeah, I've interviewed a couple of professional golfers there, and just hearing their stories, hearing stories of traveling around the country, playing for your career each year is great. Just promoting them on the Epson Tour and WAPT Tour is great because the fanfare is not there. No, there's not as many fans. Like when we had our Epson Tour tournament at my home course, there wasn't many fans there. There wasn't as much knowledge for the players and just for the tour. So yeah, just getting to hear their stories about how they got started playing golf, hear their stories about playing on their tour and playing for their career each week, and just hearing about their passion for the game of golf and their passion for playing professionally is really great.
What advice would you give those future people out there that are looking to start their own podcasts in golf?
Yeah. So make sure that you have a resume with your information about yourself. That's the most important thing. I would say that having your resume, that's what has been huge in getting me interviews. Without my resume, I don't think I would have gotten um some of the interviews that I've gotten. So I can, definitely thank, Jensen Castle, who won the 2021 U.S. Women's Amateur. She gave me that idea to make a resume and send it out to coaches. So send out resumes, send out as many emails as you can to, communication directors, or, those in, college athletic communications, because they're the ones who can say whether you can do the interview or not with the coaches. They'll turn you down if you just interview the coach. So yeah, just send out, messages, emails on, Instagram or LinkedIn. LinkedIn has been very, helpful in securing me. Like I've secured some players on the Epson Tour, and others like that, like the person I interviewed yesterday I got on LinkedIn. LinkedIn's pretty good because they don't get as many messages, whereas sometimes in Instagram, your message can be lost in their requests folder. So yeah, just send out emails. And emails, I also send out the interview questions, maybe 1 or 2 sentences on why I want to interview the coach or the player. If I interview a player like a student athlete, like when I interviewed those two women's golfers who are some of the top in college golf, I just sent out to the communications director, like, is our interviews with student athletes allowed? And the coach is like, yeah, we're just on fall break. I'll get in contact with the players after their fall break. And they set up a time with me, and yeah, I got to interview them, which is pretty cool because big fan of them and watched them play for the last few years for Duke on the Golf Channel, and just talking to them because they're both seniors was pretty cool. So yeah, just giving out a sentence on why you want to interview people. Just send out as many emails and messages with your resume as you can. The worst you can hear is no, or no response at all, because I've sent out a lot of emails where I've not heard a response, or or I've heard no. So yeah, just go for it and send out as many emails and messages as you can.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media?
So yeah, on Instagram, I'm the Golf Report Podcast, YouTube, Golf Report Podcast. Also have another YouTube channel, Gavin Sports Interviews, and Gavin Sports Interviews on Instagram. I mostly just use Instagram and YouTube. Yeah, Golf Report podcast. I've interviewed now like I don't know 60 or 70 people in golf. I'll have lots of interviews coming up. I have like 40 to go through, and Gavin Sports interviews are for my non-golf interviews. Like I've interviewed a girl who played, college basketball at my alma mater, St. Michael's. I interviewed their women's head coach and, University of Vermont's head coach. I have, the Occidental men's soccer coach coming out. I've interviewed him. So yeah, I'll be interviewing like, women's tennis coach coming up next week. So yeah, check out the Golf Report podcast for all my golf interviews, and then Gavin Sports interviews for anyone outside of golf.
Thank you again, Galvin, for your interview, and best luck in your future with the Golf Report podcast.
Thank you, Brandon.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Galvin, for your interview, and best luck in your future.
Thank you.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.